Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to Clark's Place. Today, I'm going to finish what I started. I was a little overzealous yesterday thinking that I would get all of this done. So we're going to continue the Wonka topper. You can see I spray painted the base. Still have to drill the holes, spray paint that. I'm not sure how much I'll focus on that. May do a little time lapse of that stuff, but basically today's video will probably be doing all of the wiring. I think that I had an idea last night that I could just put lights kind of behind this Wonka, since that pretty much blacks out. You won't see any lights, but attached to the backside of this and point some lights down, put some flashes behind there, put some color changing LEDs. That way that whole thing kind of is a little bit animated, even with just the GI, general illumination lights. It'll still have some action up there, even though it's a static display. So with some flashers and maybe some color changing LEDs, I think it'll look pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'll end up putting some lights down here. I may just do a couple lights just pointed up and kind of shining, maybe some color changing LEDs on the bottom side of that too, because this is basically the base there as it's shining up. So maybe it'll point out and do some of the stuff that's hanging out the sides. And I'm waiting on information back from Randy and Steve to see exactly how that stuff mounts on the side. You can see some mounting points. So I don't know what artwork, how that all goes together, but I've got a mounting plate there and looks like mounting plates there. So if I get some more information, I may run over there and get that stuff too, so I can do the whole complete package. So happy watching for this video. Thanks for tuning in to Clark's Place. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff too if you like the stuff that we do here. Thank you. Time lapse time. Yeah. All right, getting going here and just double checking everything and kind of putting a little bit of a bigger sketch out so I could get the actual holes drilled into the wood here and lining those up. I'll have to adjust a little bit later. And then on the bottom of these for going through, I used just a flush flathead screw, and here's the first shirt change here is I didn't do a whole lot that first day because I needed to go get more of those screws. So next day, next shirt, might be the last shirt here. I think I got it all done the second day, or the third day actually. But just going through and hitting that hardware after a quick trip to Lowe's. And then once I kind of figured out where everything went there, just spray paint. I thought that was kind of neat in time lapse just to see it go all black across there. And these little arms hanging out there, they have some brackets, which I think I pointed out in the beginning. I thought they were to mount the actual side art. It's about a 2 foot wide by, I think it's about 5 foot tall, 6 foot tall. And it was made to go, I guess, tie into an end cap or something like that. And it looked like it had kind of clips that slid down into like a Walmart rack or some sort of grocery rack. So it really wasn't going to tie in well with this. So what I decided to do was, I thought I was done welding, but you'll see I ended up doing some welding in this video too. And this little part here, I'm going through and quickly just buzzing off all of the harness bits. I have tons of these from different games and stuff. I don't know if I came from buying out somebody or not, but I have tons of those sockets, and they all have wires on the end of them that are still soldered on. So I just went through and cleaned up all those and took the soldering iron, knocked off all the little wire bits, and then here's me going back in and putting a little solder on each one. And I do this process. I had 4 GI lights that I'm working on the first GI harness right here, general illumination there. And then, so yeah, you can see it still has the diodes and all that good stuff, but I pretty much disregard the diodes and wire it direct to where it's just the ground wire is going to the base of the outer case of the bulb, so the whole thing is grounded around, and then the power goes to the bottom side, which sends a signal through to the bottom side of the bulb. So I don't know if that's the right way to ground it, but that's how I've built all these harnesses, and they've always worked. Some of them, if all of the bases have the diodes, then I will go ahead and wire it and solder them onto the diode side, but I didn't find pairs, so you'll see me tinning the wires there. I always kind of have that Milwaukee there with an XC battery on the bottom of it. Makes it really great and handy that you can kind of be hands-free and use the soldering iron to put your wires up to it and tin your wires at least before you're going through. And then you see me with my little buddies there, the I guess it's the magnifying glass and the little 2-arm things. I love those guys too for doing this type of work, because you can hold the thing and then be hands-free. There I go, tinning the next set of wires for the next socket there. And then I usually have 2 of them, one holding the wire, one holding the socket, and then you can kind of not be gripping them real tight with your fingers, that when the wire gets hot it burns the heck out of your fingers. I've done that hundreds of times and it's not the most fun. So you see me kind of clip the wires in, and some of them, if it's just a single wire going onto it, I don't really worry about it, but a lot of them ended up being 2 wires jumpered onto the same connection there, and those are kind of tough to do just without some assistance. So get some assistance. Yeah, so yeah, you can see 2 wires there, the 2 yellows, and then I'm trying to get those soldered on, and even with that being held, it's still a little tricky. You saw me struggle there, and here's 2 blue ones, and they went right on. So tinning the wires really helps, and then as you're soldering them, you can kind of see that it flows together. You soldered like those 2 blue ones, the solder kind of flows together on that, and then I kind of melt it onto the socket wherever it needs to go. And this is the plate that holds that sign, that little kind of gold plate there in the center. That kind of holds that with 4 screws through it to the actual still looking thing. And I just was kind of mocking up there and seeing how my little harness thing was going to actually go. So once I figured out where they needed to go, I drilled some holes, and then this is me fitting up the 2 first flashers, and I think the bracket for the flasher was too long, so I had to cut it off, and you see it's shorter there, and cut it off, and then had to waller out the hole a little bit bigger, and then mounted them both pointed up for those, and got those situated. And then I just used I don't know if you'll catch it because it's so fast motion here, but the screws that I use I think were number 6 or number 8, and then that Milwaukee little pliers at the top is a 6-in-1. It's got a cutoff for a bolt to go through for either a number 6 or a number 8 screw. There I go, right there. You could see me messing with that. I was just screwing in the screw, and then in order to not screw in so far that it pushed it against the still, I had to custom make the, I don't know, they were probably maybe only a 1/4 inch deep, just enough to get kind of a nylon nut on the backside that acted kind of like a lock washer for it. So got all that done, got all wired up, and I think, yeah, I was testing here. So the GI was working, and then I was throwing some LEDs in there. You can see it was purple, and it just wasn't lighting up right. So I don't know if something was wrong with those LEDs that I had for the flashers, but they were not looking good. So you can see I tested the sockets there, which is a regular bulb, and then found 2 actual LEDs that were really bright and really nice. So put those in there. I don't know if Randy will end up using those or not. But yeah, mounted that, and then put the screws back in that, so that bracket was on. And then it was kind of tricky. Well, I zip tied that together, but kind of tricky to figure out how all those wires go through, and cleaned it a little bit here. But to get that to go through, and then this, oh yeah, this is where I was kind of figuring, oh, those brackets there actually need an additional mounting place, because they just flopped all over the place, and they were meant to kind of lean forward. So kind of looking at them and seeing what looked level with the bottom there, just measured, and you'll see me grab the measuring tape here a few times. In order to not be impeding anything, I wanted them kind of pushed out a little bit. That's kind of their natural place. I welded it, and then I wasn't really happy with it, so ripped it off of there again. And then welded it again in the right spot, and then kind of torqued it a little bit, measure, ended up liking where it was, pretty level, and then stitched that side on. Same thing with this, kind of ground off where I was going to be welding. And those pieces look pretty rusty. They had, I ground them off camera, but ground them all down, and so they're pretty raw steel there. And zipped them in there, made sure they were level, kind of cleaned them up a little bit, and then drilled the holes for those brackets, the actual pipes out of the still, to be mounted to that. So I wanted to get that drilled to where once it's painted, it goes right in. So voila, painted, goes right in. Just used a little bit of, I think they're 1/4-20 nuts and bolts and lock washers and washers, and they went right in there, and that really sturdied everything up. But then I think it caused a little bit of problem here. You can see, watch, I'll kind of push down on the thing a couple times. Once I get that base in there, I wallowed out the holes a little bit there, and those are 1/4-20 nuts too. I got some Cully brand. They're pretty good to use, all new hardware, nice to work with. And then I'm messing with that, and it just kept throwing it out of level because it wanted to like lean forward. When it was leaning forward, you can see the left side of that bracket is up, so it was level when you would push it down on both of them. So I thought, I'm just gonna bolt the whole dang thing together. So you see me drill out the right side, drill out the left, and then bolty-roo. So yeah, torqued all those down, and then it was finally sitting really level. And start messing with the extracurriculars that get attached to it. And that plastic piece used to be mounted the other direction and go out and tie into something. I don't know if it was tied into the back, but it kind of comes out and goes straight down. So pretty much done with mounting all that, and time to use a step bit, put a hole in the center, put about a 1/2 inch hole or so, and I used that placard on the front to kind of see where it needed to be, exactly where it was all going to be covered, where all those wires could go through, and then pulled that all through. And then this is a nice little shot here that kind of goes through and shows about the finished product. It's not mounted to the base yet, but you can see looking pretty good. And pretty much everything hidden. The wires are hanging out the right side there, but they won't be. And I think this is actually building the harness that will connect to it. So that on the left there, that little pliers there, is a barrel splicer, and there's lots of little barrels in there. So I took the wires from the outside right there, where I keep messing, and I was tying them in to the harness that comes through the back, or through the center there, and just crimping two together. And then you see do a little heat shrink here on those two wires. So just running two into one, so I could have just one little attachment for the harness. So it would just be two wires fed four lights, and then two wires fed two other lights. And use the little Trificon connectors and a different DMC tool. I think I'm still, oh no, I'm putting the actual Trificon connectors in, and then they're going into that little harness there. So I had to take a break here and fix Dad's tool there, because mine is adjusted really good, but if you don't have that adjusted really correct, it likes to spit out the little Trificon connector. When it's working great, it's the most amazing tool in the world. You've heard Randy say that before in a different video, but if it's not aligned right, which Dad doesn't use his very often, it tends to wander all over. So all that got done. Now it's time to put those on, and I think I used the 1/4-20 Coley connectors again, and this one got stripped out, so you see me mess with it, and had to run over there and get another one. And then that one, I think cinched. Well, maybe I did struggle with that one a little bit too. So moving on to drilling the holes for the secondary lights that kind of hang out to the sides. And I think I drilled a hole from the top and then kind of wallered it out from the bottom. It was difficult to make the mounting for those little LEDs there get flat and get straight, but worked out, and ended up using a flat flush head screw on the bottom of that too, to where when it lays on top of the game, it lays flat and there's no issues. So all that, do a little bit of cleanup here, and we're going back to some live audio. Thank you all for watching. Alright, that's a flasher. Looks pretty good. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. And that is the GI. I think if you're low enough, you shouldn't see those lights. If not, you can bend them down some. But all four of them are shining. That feeds your imagination pretty good. It'll probably look really awesome in the dark. And if Randy's got some color changing LEDs or UV lights, this feed your imagination should be lit up a lot. So it should be very, very cool. Thanks for watching. Alright, that's it for Wonka Vision today. Hope you learned something, hope you enjoyed it. I've got some other videos up over here that show some other toppers if you want to click on those. Otherwise, thanks for watching Clark's Place. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You know. Bye-bye.